Welcome to API demo video number 9. And I just want to say that if you've made it this far already, thank you, and also congratulations, especially if you are a newer coder. I have thrown so much new information at you, and hopefully you've been able to take it in stride. Each of the topics that I've brought up, there's a wealth of information about, plenty of stuff that I don't even know. And it's out there for you to explore, but it can be really intimidating, and I just want to acknowledge how intimidating it can be to be learning like 5, 6, 7 new things at once. So thank you for sticking with me. If you have any feedback for how I'm presenting this information, please leave it in the comments. I really welcome that. I'd love to explain things more. If you have questions or you get stuck, please contact me and I will try to get you unstuck. So anyway, here we are. So we've made a schema. We've created a database. In the past, we created a server. So now the goal is to connect the two somehow. So we're going to need a package for this. Let's clear this terminal. And let's get on a new branch. Now, if you haven't merged in your last branch, I'd recommend that you go back and do that. I think it's video number 6 where I talk about that, or maybe it's 7. I'm losing track. We'll go back and post the link in the comments on this. But go merge that branch into master, come back, do a git checkout master, pull your changes using git pull, and then check out a new branch. So I'm going to do git checkout -b db setup. All right, so now that I'm on this branch, I'm going to need a package that is going to connect our Postgres database to our node project. And the name of that package is called pg-promise. PG is another package that also connects the two, and it's based on callbacks. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with callback functions, but they can start to get a little messy. What the premise is that you have a function and you pass it an error and another callback function. So if the function completes successfully, hello kitty, if the function completes successfully, then it'll call the callback function. If not, it'll call the error. If you've worked with promises before, you know that they're a slightly easier, cleaner way of handling those situations. If you haven't, we're going to go through them in detail, and we're going to be using promises throughout this entire project, so you will get very, very familiar with them. The PG promise library deals with making queries to the database. And queries to the database by nature are asynchronous. Sometimes they take no time at all, sometimes they take a little time depending on how much data you're fetching. And so the PG promise library is going to allow us to write these queries to the database, whether we're creating a post or we're reading the post and trying to get the list of them out of our database. And it's going to return a promise. And then if that promise is successfully resolved, we're going to pass it forward. If the promise, if an error happens, like if the database is down or if our query was not written correctly, it's going to return us an error. It's going to do promise.reject and send us an error. So that's a little brief meander on promises. You're going to see a lot of them in action very shortly. So we've now installed this PG promise library, and now we get to use it. So inside of my source directory and inside of model, so let me just cd into source and then model. I want to create another folder, and this folder is going to be called db. So make directory db. And then I'm going to cd into database. And in here, I'm going to touch or create an index.js file. This file is going to be where we create our database connection. So let me just go up, back up to the main level. And now I'm in database. I'm going to open up index.js. So the first thing we want to do is const pgp, this is pg promise, equals require pg promise. Now, this is a very important and a little picky thing that you will see in the docs. If you just do this, the program is not going to work. You need to instantiate the library right after you require it. So that's what those little parentheses are. It's creating it and then it's calling it right away. So now we have access to this PGP variable. Now we want to create a database connection. So I'm going to just say const db. And the reason why I'm keeping this, I know I said I prefer long function names. The reason I'm keeping this really short is because we're going to have to call methods on this thing constantly, and db is just easier. It's also the convention that's in the PG Promise package, so I'm just going to go with it. So const db equals pgp. So we're creating a function here. And we are going to put in our database connection details. And then, before I forget, so we have to export functions inside of, like whenever we're creating a function that we need to use in another part of our code, we have to export it. Just like we use require to import things, and we can use require to import packages, to import other files, we need to also export the things that we want to pull into other files. And so module.exports is the way that we do that. And I'm going to be exporting the database connection. So in the next video, I'm going to break down exactly how we set up this database connection. But for now, see you next time.